First, this is Javin Singh from Palin Analytics, and today's session is about understanding the data step processing in SAS. Right? So it's about how SAS understands the data, how SAS stores data in itself. Right? So to understand that thing, we need to first understand a concept of a program data vector. A data vector is a logical area in the memory of SAS. You can compare it with cache, right? The memory. Okay. So how SAS works on this PDV is that basically, let's say we have a row file, right? So let me show you a row file. So go ahead and check a text file, which is like this. So what we are going to do here is we need to import this file in SAS. That means that we will be creating a SAS data set, and that data set will have this data in it. So first of all, I'll go ahead and get the file in SAS. Okay. To do that, what I'll be doing is I'll be copying the address of this file from here. Okay, and I have already copied this file here. So you see that a data statement is used basically to create a new data set. So new one is the name of a data set that we are creating in SAS. So through first statement, we are just creating a new data set, right? And then infile statement is the one that we use to read data into SAS. Where is any external file, whether it is X file or Excel file or CSV file, when we import a file into SAS, the statement that we use in the background is infile statement. So I have write infile statement here, and within the double quotes, I have mentioned the path of the file that we need to read, right? And an input statement is basically used to declare variables in SAS. Right. So let's say we have that text file and we have three variables in that, name, age, and salary. Right. So I mentioned name, age, and salary in input statement, and a run statement is usually used to add a data step. So how SAS will encounter or understand that a particular data step or is ended by seeing a run statement. Right. I'll be setting it and we'll submit this program, right? And I'll go ahead and check new file. So you can see that we have successfully imported the text file, which is the inf.text. We'll go and check that file. So we have these names and we have their age and the salary. So we have imported this text file successfully in SAS, and we have created a data set as well. Right. So this is how we import a text file in SAS using infile statement. Right. So to understand the processing of this data step, we will go for the code. Right. So as soon as we run a data step, or as soon as we run a data statement, right. So with this in statement, before this input statement, a PDV or a program data vector is created automatically as soon as we run this data step, right? So as soon as we run this statement, so statements are executed one by one in the processing. So as soon as this step or this data statement is processed or it is executed, a program data vector or a buffer is introduced in the memory, right? Buffer will read these values one by one. So how SAS reads these values? It will read these values, observation, and then the another observation and the third observation. So it will read this option completely, this, and it will write this value into the program data vector, and the program data vector then writes this value to SAS data set. Program data vector is working as a bridge between the raw and the data set. So it's picking data, that one observation from raw data, and it is writing that data to SAS. So the data extraction from this text file into PDV, this is what we call a comparison phase, right? And when we read data from PDV to SAS, then we go as execution phase. I'm sorry, right? So the processing is done in two phases. One is execution phase, when we will read data into PDV, and another one is execution phase, when we will read data into SAS. Right? So now this program data vector works. Okay, so it will read observations one by one. Okay, we talk about entering data into SAS. Okay, so this is one way of entering data. So let's say in this file we have the delimiter. Delimiter is the constant by which we separate the variables. So here we can see that the variables are separated by a blank or a space, right? To read a file which is space delimited, we use the infile statement, and we process it like thing that we have done. So infile the path of the file, and we'll close the statement, and we'll use the input statement to read these files. So let's say that we have a comma instead of a space in these files. So I'll just replace these spaces with a comma. Okay, great. Okay. So now you can see that these values or these variables are separated with comma. Okay, so now can we read that with the same code? Let's run this. Now if I go ahead and run this, and I will check the log window, it will show me an error. Okay, this is because we have already opened the data set. Now click and write again. Remember that if we have opened a data set, we cannot work on it. So we'll close it first, and then we'll work on it. So, now we will check, and we will go for some errors. So you see that there are errors in this processing. It's saying that we have invalid data for age, we have invalid data for salary. Why? Because it is considering comma also as a variable value, right? Why is considering it? Because now what we're doing is we are importing a file which is delimited, and we haven't tested that this file is comma delimited, right? So, to make SAS understand that this is a delimited file, we use an option which is DSD. So DSD is nothing but a delimiter sensitive data option, which is used to read delimiter sensitive data. Default for space, we need not to mention any DSD because space is the default delimiter. Apart from space, if we have any other delimiter, we need to mention DSD along with the infile statement, right? So now if I'll go ahead and run this, first let me close this file. Okay, now I go ahead and run this, and we have created a new one. First check the log window. Log says that it is successfully imported. I'll go ahead and check new one. So as you can see, guys, the data has been imported into SAS, right? If we have a comma separated value, then we just need to mention DST in front of infile, and it will read the comma delimited colors. Right? I'll show you another example. Let's say in this, instead of comma, we have a tab. So this data will become a tab delimited, or the delimiter now is tab. Just a minute. Okay. So we'll place this tab and this. we can see that the data is tab delimited. Okay, we'll save the changes. We'll go again to SAS, and it will try to import this using this DST. It won't understand. Why? Because DST will tell that yes, it is delimiter sensitive, but it won't tell us that what kind of delimiter is there. So for that option, we will introduce another option as DLM. You can also write as delimiter complete, or you can write DLM as well. Equals to, we will introduce chords. Right? In these chords, we'll write 09 and I'll mention an X in front of it. What does this mean? This is the ASCII conversion of tab, right? So yes, you need to remember this, the ASCII conversion value. And now if I go ahead and run this, go to log, and I'll see that this is also successfully converted, right? Guys, this is the example of a list input, or the input is used for importing data which is delimited data, right? Okay, so let me show you some other scenarios. I'll open this, which is a text file column. Okay, now you can see that the first variable is name and the other variable is age, but there is no delimiter in these files, right? And they are concatenated together. So if I go ahead and run the similar list input code, it will cover mark and 25 under the same variable. Now we need to separate, and we need to tell SAS that this value is under name and this value is under age, because we haven't mentioned any delimiter. If we have mentioned any delimiter, so we'll have understand that this value is name, and after this delimiter, the value is the age, right? So I'll go ahead and close. Okay, this method is what we call a column method. So column method is used to specify specific columns. So let's say from column 1 to 4, we have name, and from column 5 to 6, we have age, and we have from 7 to let's say, I have the same code down here. Okay, so name is from first column to fourth column, and fifth, sixth column is for age, and 7th to 12th column are for salary. So here we need not to mention any delimiter. We will just mention the columns that this data is present from this column to this column. So let's open this one, and first column, second, third, fourth. So first to fourth column are acquired name. Fifth and sixth columns are required by age, and the rest of the columns are required by salary. Right? By doing this, we can easily get this file. Okay, so let's run this. Because we had a space, so I will write 8. Okay, and I will write, let's say, 13. Okay. So I'll go ahead and run this code, and I'll check the log window for this. Okay, it's throwing me some errors. Why? Because maybe the file is not is out of that range that we have provided. So we'll go ahead and check column. So we got 1 to 4 are for name, 5 to 6 are for age, and this 7 and 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 8 to 12 is for salary. So I will write 8 to 12. Okay, I'll go ahead and close this window, and I'll save the details as well. So age and salary, and I'll go ahead and run this thing. So check it, and we can see that it is successfully created. So the file that we have created now is data new 3. So I'll open data new 3. Okay, and the file is successfully imported. So this method is what we call a comment method, in which we will specify the columns in which the data is present. How different from list input is that in list input we use a delimiter to separate data, and here we are specifying the columns. Okay, so we need not any delimiters. We can then specify the columns and we can pick the data accordingly. Right? Let me tell you another example of importing data. Let's say I have a file which is new. So we can see, guys, that if we have a delimiter here, we have a delimiter space here, and we have a delimiter here. So if I try to read this file as input, so the problem that we face is, let's say the first object will be red. So it is encountering a space, so it will be the next as Christopher in name. Then it will encounter another space in the variable. So what it will do, it will read Christopher under name, and it will leave Mullins. So it will not read Mullins because it is come after the delimiter. The problem it will face here in the address, after this it will not read this value under address. So this is one problem that we will be facing while using list input. Right? So if we encounter the delimiters under the value or in the value, what we need to do here? Okay, so as we have a solution in SAS for that. Okay, so for that we will be using column specifiers, or what we call them as a variable specifier. Right? So this is the rules that we will use to read. Right? So this is what we call as ampersand specifier. Okay. What ampersand will do is that it will ignore a single space or a single delimiter in the file. So this is the solution for this problem. So let's say in this data have a single space. So what we'll do, it will ignore this single space under value and will read the next value in the same variable. Here as well, we cannot keep a single space because it will ignore this also, and it will take the address value under name. So when we will encounter the next variable, we will put more spaces in that so that it should not ignore that. So out of two or more spaces, it will consider it as a delimiter, and if it encounters only one space, it will not consider it as a delimiter and it will ignore this. Okay, now I'll go ahead and import this file. Same code. This is the format modifier. This is the format modifier because in address and name we have that problem of space. We have mentioned the format modifiers here, and the rest all is same. So go ahead and we'll go and check new to file. We have imported it successfully, and we have the complete name: Christopher Mullins, Mitchell, Rose W. McDonald. We imported this successfully, and we have imported address successfully as well, and salary. Right? If we use format modifiers, what they do is they will ignore the delimiter for once, and if they encounter a double delimiter, then it will consider it as a proper delimiter. Right? So that's the reason for that problem. So guys, this is how using infile statement we can import various types of data into SAS. We have some other functionalities as well. We have other procedures to import the file. So let's say we want to import a CSV file which is present on our desktop, that is test. I'll go ahead and open this file. Let's say what's the data set. So we have a class variable, a name, age, date of birth, income status, gen, and designation. These are variables that we have under this file. Okay. Now we want to read this file in SAS. Okay. So for that we have used a proc import procedure to this file into SAS. Why we haven't done it using infile? I'll give this answer after we will run this code. Okay. So what all we need to mention here is proc import. This is the name of the procedure. Data file equals to, we will put the address of the file that we want to import. So data file is the file which is the address of the raw file. So we have mentioned the address of the raw file. Out equals to statement is used to create the new data set. So we want to import this file in data set. Okay. Need to mention a DBS. We have to mention a DBMS statement which mentioned that what type of file we need to import, right? So I have mentioned CSV here because we are importing a CSV file. If it has been an Excel file, we have mentioned Excel here. I have used statement because we had new data set earlier as well, and if I mention replace statement, it will replace the previous data set, new data set. Okay, I'll go ahead and run this. Now we have run this, and I'll go and check log window. We can see that there is no error in this code, right? And I'll go ahead and check the file we have created, that is new 4. I'll check new 4, and we can see that the 4 data has been imported, right? So now let's look to log window. It tells a lot, right? So we have run this code, that is proc import data file. This code we have run. Background, only the infile statement itself ran here, right? You can see that in file, this is the file CSV, this is the diameter we have mentioned, this is the misover. Misover is basically used to ignore the missing values in data if there are any. Right? And T we have already mentioned. LRCL is the observation limit, like the complete row can take the of values, the complete row. Next is for ops equals to 2, it tells us that read the values from the second observation, because in first observation we have the variable names. So I open this test file, and we can see that the first observation contains variable names, and as we don't want to import these variable names under the, so we mention first ops equals to 2. That means the observation, first observation starts with second row, right? And we will ignore this. Okay. So that's the reason we have mentioned first ops in this. Okay. Then in format, and format is used for all the variables. Format is basically makes you understand what type of data we are importing in SAS, and format is basically a statement used to tell to read data from SAS. Right? So to read data in SAS, we use in format statement, and to read data from SAS, we use format statement. Okay, so it has informatted all the variables, and it has formatted variables, and it has used the input statement that we used to do in infile statement, and in case any error occurs, then do this. So this they have done. So you see, guys, in background, only the infile statement is used to import this data, but the code that we have mentioned is a proc import. That tells that proc import is a procedure which is used to automate the process of an infile statement. So done because if we do it by infile, let's say we have a file of 100 variables, we have an Excel file, a CSV file of 100 variables. We can mention each and every variable in input statement by ourselves because it will take a lot of time. We need an automation procedure for that, and the procedure is proc import. So this is, we can also import a file using proc import. In background, the infile statement itself will run, but this is an automated procedure that SAS has provided to us. So these are two methods by which we can import a file. If we talk about another procedure, we can do it graphically as well. So I'll click on File, and we will click on Import Data. Here it is asking us what kind of file you want to import. So I will drop down menu, and I will select a CSV file here, which is comma separated. Next, now it's asking me where the file is located. So I'll browse file in the PC. I'll go to desktop. We have test data. I'll open it. and I'll click next. Now it's asking me where do you want to store this file in SAS. So I will mention new 5 destination data set and I will finish it. It means that the dataset work.new5 already exists. Why? Because I have already created this file. Okay. So you want to replace it? Yes. Okay. So replace statement is being asked graphically for us. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and check the log for this. See that it is showing me the same log that it has shown for the proc. So log for proc import is this, and the log for graphically importing method is this. So it is same. Okay. I'll go ahead and check new 5, and we can see that the whole data is imported in SAS. Right. So guys, these are the 3 methods that we use to import data in SAS, and we also understood like what PDV is, how it processes data. So it processes data one row and then next row, then the next row, and it writes the data to SAS one column, one row at a time. Right. So this is how it processes the data, right, using program data vector, and these are various methods to input data into SAS. So that's all about this session, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and in case you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you. अच्छा